Joe, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Great to have you back with us. You know, this 60 Minutes interview with FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, former, since fired, of course, aired last night. And it was kind of, it retreaded a lot of things that we knew, but it really, I think, expressed for the American public in clear detail that you had a real effort inside the FBI and the Justice Department to get rid of, to take out the president of the United States. That was my takeaway. What was yours?
Well, since July 5th, 2016, when James Comey illegally exonerated Hillary Clinton, it has been obvious that the Obama FBI and Justice Department were corrupt. What you saw last night on 60 Minutes, coupled with Mr. McCabe's new book, was a signed confession that they violated the law, that they committed subversion and sedition against the President of the United States. Wow. They wanted Hillary Clinton to be president. She lost. They had to figure out a way to get rid of Donald Trump, and so they created a fake investigation based on no facts whatsoever. You will notice that during that lengthy interview last night, all you got was the conclusion from McCabe that they had a basis for investigating the president. Prior to the firing of Comey, there was no basis, and indeed, Scott Pelley never asked him to articulate what the basis was. Although Scott Pelley thought he scored a coup, what he did was he revealed a coup. And he looked like a fool, as did Robin Roberts on ABC in the other case involving Smollett.
Smollett.
Whatever you want to say about Scott Pelley in 60 Minutes, they accidentally performed a public service in the service of the citizens of the United States. Comey, McCabe, Baker, Strzok, Page all need to be behind bars. And their worst nightmare just happened. Bill Barr walked into the building this morning at 9th and Constitution.
You know, Joe, I don't really know how Andrew McCabe could sit there and tell us that he had a rationale to believe that the president had worked with the Russians to get elected in light of the fact that, okay, let's pretend the FBI is the dispassionate law enforcement agency. You have two political organizations, the Senate Intel Committee and the House Intel Committee, who just wrapped up investigations over the course of the last few months, and both concluded that there was no evidence of collusion whatsoever. How could he sit there and claim that the FBI had the evidence?
Well, I think he's getting very bad legal advice. You can't. The fact is that Mr. McCabe is already under criminal investigation by the Justice Department for his 4 lies, 3 under oath.
Right.
It's just you can't do it. I mean, all of the available evidence, actually from the very beginning, almost 2 years ago, has been that there was no collusion, that there was no conduct by the president or any of his close associates having anything to do with the Russians. The Manafort thing is completely unrelated to all of this, so It's nonsensical. McCabe is doing everything he can to make a public argument against his indictment. He's trying to. This is what they used to call gray mail, where you throw out the threat of using classified information to prevent your indictment. He's doing the same thing.
Well, let me get you, Joe.
I don't know that Congressman Jim Jordan is not going to let him get away with it, but go ahead.
Well, let me get Joe a little worked up here because I want to play some of the audio of what he claimed last night about how certain he was to investigate the president. Here he is.
Are you saying that the president is in league with the Russians?
I'm saying that the FBI had reason to investigate that. Right? The existence of an investigation doesn't mean someone is guilty. And I would say, Scott, if we failed to open an investigation under those circumstances, we wouldn't be doing our jobs.
When you decided to launch these 2 investigations, was the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, on board with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he said Rod Rosenstein, he pulls him right into this thing too, Joe.
Well, Rosenstein is a thug, and he is the worst example of when career bureaucrats become politically motivated and care only about their career. Rosenstein will be gone shortly, thank God. The Department of Justice will no longer have the stench of somebody who engaged in sedition and subversion himself. Rosenstein is just a pathetic public servant. As far as McCabe goes, you'll notice that in answer to that question to Scott Pelley, he never articulates what the basis was for investigating the president because there was none.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you myself. It's like, okay, we haven't seen this kind of corruption on the front page of the paper since Hoover's FBI went after Dr. King. But what are they even alluding to that would be a reason that you would then say perhaps we should wear a wire into the White House and tape a sitting president without him knowing?
If you hate Donald Trump as much as those people did, and love Hillary Clinton as much as those people did, you will do anything. McCabe,
go to
and
jail
Rosenstein
the rest of your life?
And Comey and Baker all believed that they could do anything they want. And the reason, the insurance policy, by the way, was the fake investigation of the president to remove him from office. And the reason was they didn't want people to know that they had illegally exonerated Hillary Clinton,
wow,
and that they had conducted illegal FISA taps, and that they had unmasked people, and that they had leaked those names to the press. And because McCabe was responsible for leaking the Flynn-Kislyak call to the papers, that was a violation of the Espionage Act.
Well, I want to play for our audience two distinct things real quickly here. Cut 17. This is about Rod Rosenstein trying to remove the president from office. Take a listen.
Rosenstein was actually openly talking about whether there was a majority of the cabinet who would vote to remove the president.
That's correct. Counting votes or possible votes.
And this is here, cut 19. This is Andrew McCabe talking about Rod Rosenstein wearing a wire into the Oval Office to record the president.
The point of Rosenstein wearing the wire into a meeting with the president was what? What did he hope to obtain?
I can't characterize what Rod was thinking or what he was hoping at that moment. But the reason you would have someone wear a concealed recording device would be to collect evidence. And in this case, what was the true nature of the president's motivation in calling for the firing of Jim Comey?
They didn't like that he fired somebody he was allowed to, and they wanted to throw him out of office, Joe.
Well, again, McCabe is committing ritual suicide. And you'll note that when the Justice Department, on behalf of Rod Rosenstein, issued a statement the other day, Mr. Rosenstein never denies that he had a conversation with McCabe about doing the 25th Amendment and wearing a wire. He simply says he never authorized anybody to wear a wire. Well, you wouldn't have to authorize yourself, would you?
All right, more with Joe diGenova. Hold on, Joe. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about this. Also, the president's declaration of a national emergency. Some people questioning the legality of it. We'll let Joe answer that, too. All right, we're talking to Joe diGenova, legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. The remainder on this, Joe, just get your last impressions on Andrew McCabe's interview. I think that this is a gigantic statement that the media should be paying attention to. There was a real effort to get rid of the President of the United States without any basis for doing it. Any remainders for you from the 60 Minutes interview?
Well, this has been fairly obvious for almost 2 years that this was a fake investigation. I mean, anybody who's ever been a federal investigator knows that this was a joke from day one, and it's all been an outrageous plot. What it shows is that Bill Barr, who is in the building today, will, in all likelihood, impanel a federal grand jury, and all these folks will have an opportunity to testify before it, most of whom will take the fifth because they have no choice.
Wow.
Does Rod Rosenstein leave at the conclusion of the Mueller investigation or sooner than that?
He will leave within the next 2 weeks.
He needs to leave because we're finding, oh no, it was not a joke. I'm really seriously considering going in here and taping a sitting president.
Yeah, his presence is really hurting the reputation, too, of the FBI and the Justice Department. All right, Joe, I want to move over to the issue of a national emergency. A bunch of the president's critics, to include Republicans, are making the case, though, he can't do this. This is not a real emergency. You can't declare a national emergency. What do you make of it?
Well, first of all, it's fairly obvious to a normal human being that we have a crisis and an emergency on the border. Whatever one can say about the manner of expressing it by the president, we have a major crisis. We no longer have a border with Mexico. But the Congress, one of the reasons the Republicans lost the House is because of the way they acted in response to the president's declaration of emergency. Republicans are useless. They were useless in the House when Paul Ryan refused to allow subpoenas to be issued by Goodlatte and all those other people, and all those idiots went along with it. But in this case, Republicans can't even defend their president on something that is so patently obvious. And you have people like Rubio and others, we're so afraid, we're concerned about this, that, and the other thing. Do the Republicans in the Senate actually think that a Democratic president wouldn't do what he or she wanted to do no matter what? Just like Harry Reid changed the filibuster rule so he could confirm all the Obama judges. Republicans are idiots, and they demonstrate it every day. The president has authority delegated to him first by the Constitution as the executive branch and the commander-in-chief to defend that border. Second, Congress in 1976, because it's lazy, decided to delegate its emergency declaration powers to the President of the United States. The President is using the same power that a series of presidents have used 70 times to declare emergencies, 37 of which are still in existence for many, many years. I mean, the notion that he doesn't have this power is ludicrous.
Well, we know that he does, but it is going to be difficult to make the case in the public. So I want to hear some of your suggestions. But because when you talk about emergencies, this border has been open for quite some time. And so we're seeing the impact. We're seeing the impact, as he's pointed out, on crime. We're seeing the impact on even our education and many of our public services. We're seeing the impact even in the private sector, to where you can't even get a middle-class job anymore unless you're bilingual with Spanish. So we know that this is a crisis. But why is it so difficult for him to even convince Republicans to stand with him on this glaring emergency?
Because Republicans are afraid of themselves. They are afraid to fight. And the reason Donald Trump is president is because Republicans are bad at governing and they are bad at politics. The notion they cannot even articulate a message when they had the House and the Senate to deal with all of this demonstrates how pathetic the Republicans in the House and the Senate are. With the exception of Lindsey Graham and a few other people who fought genuinely hard to deal with this, the president is basically acting alone. Wow. He has no support from the Republicans in Congress. And I must say, it's fine to have a difference of opinion with the president about a particular legal or political question, but you don't go out and subvert his authority by whining about what another president might do. Well, Barack Obama already did it.
Yeah, he did.
When he violated the law and, obliterated all the immigration laws surrounding DACA after he had publicly told people, I can't do that, it's illegal. And then he goes and does it. What do these idiots in Congress think the next president who's a Democrat is going to do, or the next majority leader in the Senate? By subverting the president's position, the Republican senators are guaranteeing that the Democrats will retake the Senate. Well,
I don't know, because the Heartland America is given one more chance and they're thinking primary. But I want to ask you something a little bit on the money and where he gets it from. This $5 trillion beltway economy, finding $5 billion is not that difficult. But some of the pots that he's thinking about, do you have any opinion on those?
All of the money that has been appropriated for military construction process but has not been obligated, in other words, there's no contract for it yet, he can use. The statute from 1976 permits that. Also, the military construction legislation permits him to use that money. He has a pot of about $8 billion before he even gets to the emergency fund.
Ooh, it's going to be a shiny wall. $8 billion. That's a little bit more than he was wanting. Okay, go ahead.
He can get one that's gold plated.
Oh yeah.
Joe, we've got a couple of attempts to fight back against the president here. The Attorney General of California, Becerra, is planning on joining other states, New Mexico, Hawaii, Oregon, Connecticut, Minnesota, to go after this national emergency declaration right away. Also, Senate Democrats have begun the process of filing the bill to block the emergency. Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Bernie Sanders. How successful will either effort be?
I don't know about the resolution in the Senate, although they may pick up some Republican votes to try to thwart the president. Obviously, it's going to pass in the House, and then the president can veto a resolution of disapproval, and they won't have the two-thirds majority to override the veto. As far as the lawsuits from California and elsewhere, oh my goodness, of course they're going to file them, and they'll go to the Ninth Circuit, and as the president said so artfully the other day, they'll win, and then it'll go to the Supreme Court. presumably he will be vindicated just as he was in the travel ban.
I go to the
Gotta
ninth,
love 'em.
I love that part where they go to the Ninth Circuit, and then they're going to
Gotta
Probably
win.
was his
Especially California, where they have a wall.
Joe, thank you. Always appreciate the clarity
You
you
bet.
bring.
Thank you.